Okay, so now we're in 2018, we've got a sports year to look forward to, but there's two key sporting competitions I'm going to be looking at more closely than others. I will be looking at others, but I'll be focusing on these two particular things. The Winter Olympics and the FIFA World Cup in Russia. They're the two things that we're going to be looking at. Yes, the Six Nations take place. Yes, you've got the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup final, the NRL and Super League seasons start, the AFL starts again. So you've got all these competitions that I like watching and that I have an interest in. And I have had an interest in for many years. And they're going to be floating around, and I will try and watch as much as possible of that, or try and catch the replays, catch the highlights, whatever it may be. But the two big things that I'm going to be focusing on, because they will be on British TV, so I can see more of it rather than having to hop on the internet, is the Winter Olympics and is the Football World Cup. The thing with the Winter Olympics, Russians are banned. So, and the main sport that I want to watch is the ice hockey and the downhill skiing, but the ice hockey especially, where the Russians actually would have had a really good side. All Russian athletes are now banned. They have to compete under the Olympic banner. And I don't think that the Russians are going to do an Olympic banner team somehow. I really don't. Not going to happen. And there is that. And this is now an ongoing saga now. But Russia are not the only nation that dopes. You've either got individuals or other nation states that have a severe issue with doping. So Jamaica, for example, have had many athletes fail drugs tests. The US has constantly had athletes in various sports fail doping tests. Kenya, for some reason. A lot of these nations don't compete at the Winter Olympics, but USA especially does. So it is a bit more politically motivated in my eyes. America's had a lot of issues with steroid and performance enhancing misuse to gain an advantage for years. So there is that. The FIFA World Cup. Now, 4 years ago in Brazil, 3.5 years ago in Brazil really, the humidity in certain, like Recife and Manaus, was key in some games because it was a killer. The size of the country, so you could be in Manaus in 40 degree, 80% humidity, and then go down to Belo Horizonte where it was like 18 degrees and not as warm or humid, and that's something that the players had to adjust to. The same thing's going to happen in Russia, but for slightly different climatic reasons. Continental Europe, and I've been out there and I have family live out there, is an interesting thing. What happens is, in summer, it gets really, really hot. Drought conditions, so you'll have forest fires. You'll have dry riverbeds. It gets hot, dusty and dry. And the heat builds all summer. And every so often, a bit of humidity gets in there, and a little sea breeze may blow inland, and a bit of moisture comes in. And it's hot, and the humidity rises, and out of nowhere, bang, you have a torrential flash flooding thunderstorm. And I've seen this before in the German World Cup 2006 and in the Euros in 2008 in Switzerland and Austria. This same effect happened on a lesser scale. Oh yes, it's worse in Russia. There were some very heavy thunderstorms, and some of the matches were washouts. There were some matches where it was absolutely torrential rain. How were they playing? We will never know. But it happened. And so the players and the coaching staff have got to contend with this, and the fans, because the fans be like, oh, it's nice and hot. And another thing is, don't drink too much out there. Honestly, it's lethal. Heat and alcohol is not a good mix. Heat stroke is going to happen. Players will have heat stroke, and I'm not joking. Players will go down with heat stroke. In an average Russian summer, heat stroke is an issue. The thunder and lightning is going to be an issue. And I remember when England were preparing for the last World Cup, we played some games in Miami. And one of the games was delayed because of a tropical thunderstorm. For safety reasons. They were playing at the Miami Dolphins NFL stadium, and this has happened regularly in their training camps at the beginning of the season. In September, they have to stop games for periods of time because of adverse weather. These type of thunderstorms do we have them here in the UK as well. We get these summer thunderstorms where the land bakes, humidity rises, there's not much wind, and then suddenly just a gentle low pressure or even another high pressure system with a slightly stronger breeze comes in and brings in that fresh air and it hits, and the humidity's there, and the heat's there, and it's just lightning, thunder, flash, heavy rain, flash flooding. It happens. It's just amplified in Russia because of the size of the landmass. There is going to be time differential and travel. It's, I think, more travel involved in this World Cup than in Brazil. So there's a lot of distances to cover as well, and logistics. So that's going to be interesting. I expect to see a lot of goals in this World Cup. Lots. A hell of a lot. So we'll see what happens. Other things that are going to happen. Six Nations, close to Six Nations is cool, I think, the way all the domestic teams are playing in all the Six Nations, all their domestic club teams are playing. Very competitive. That's going to be interesting to watch. And how they all perform in the autumn as well. There's some very interesting signs, small teams. The NRL. Now, I did state in previous videos this is going to be the closest NRL season ever. That is my prediction. I'm not predicting who's going to win it. I have some favourites, but if I was to predict anything, I would look like a tit halfway through the season. I really would. Oh, my hair's a mess. But I still think this season's ladder in the regular season, so the minor premiership is going to be harder to win, and then winning the finals footy is going to be harder to win. Because every team, Melbourne have weakened a little bit because Cronk has left and Smith and Slater are getting to that point in their careers now with one injury for them. So even a little slight niggle is serious. Every other team, with their moves they made on their rosters, are in better shape now than they were this time last year. And there is still time to sign more players. So this is going to be the most interesting season we've ever seen in the NRL. Super League, I don't know. I find Super League less competitive. Only 4 teams have actually won the Super League Grand Final since Super League's inception. One of those teams is no longer in Super League, in Bradford Bulls. Whereas in the NRL, since NRL's inception, 12 out of the current 16 teams have won. There used to be 20, so yes, the league structure has changed slightly somewhat. But at the moment, 3/4 of the teams in the NRL have won the title, whereas in the Super League, only 4. So I see this NRL season going to be really tough to call, really competitive, and a great show. Obviously, the AFL season's coinciding with the NRL, and that's going to be really interesting as well. Teams like Essendon and Carlton are still recovering from breaching salary cap for Carlton and the peptide scandal for Essendon. They haven't fully recovered. It's a long road to get back in AFL compared to NRL when you have a scandal or have an issue like that, or an issue with salary cap breach or steroids scandal. It seems harder. So that's going to be really interesting because a lot's happened in the last couple of years. So I will be watching that as closely as possible, or following it as close as possible that I can with the media I have available. That's going to be interesting. But there's lots of things to look at going forward. But the big things, FIFA World Cup and the Olympics, for those reasons. There are other things to look forward to, like all the various tennis opens. Djokovic is injured at the moment. Murray's coming back from injury. Can Federer keep going at his age? Can Nadal keep going with the injuries he's had in the past? That's going to be interesting to look at. There's all sorts to look forward to in the next 12 months. The Premier League season is halfway through now. Transfer window is now officially open. So I'm going to look at the transfer window. That's going to be an interesting thing to look at, especially deadline day. That's going to be really interesting. And I have my views on the January transfer window. So, like, should it still be around? Should it be an all-year transfer until transfer deadline day at some point in the season? My view. But the transfer structure in football possibly needs to be looked at further. I know we brought in an earlier deadline day for this season coming up. So in the summer, after the World Cup, the deadline day, in the English Premier League at least, has been brought forward before season starts. That's something else to look at. And some of the random videos I do on sport, such as should the NRL, for example, expand to Perth, done one of them. I will do a history of the NRL. I will do a history of the English Premier League, possibly. I will look at certain individual teams or leagues and do some videos on them. So we'll see. But thank you very much for watching last year. 2018 is going to be exciting, and there's some big things happening in sport. Big things. And some of them have political ramifications as well. So we shall have to see what happens. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for getting to the end of this video, my ramblings. And I'll have some more videos for you soon.